Watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Coming up in the next hour. Rio G20 summit concludes as South Africa takes over presidency from Brazil. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi underlines the importance of accelerating efforts to ensure a cleaner, more sustainable future for all during G20 summit. Prime Minister Modi holds bilateral talks with Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese in Rio, deliver a joint statement of cooperation. India pushes for clean energy by highlighting climate action at COP29 summit in Baku, Azerbaijan. Ukraine hits Russia with US missiles for the first time on the war's 1,000th day. Russian President Vladimir Putin lowers threshold for a nuclear strike. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva declared the G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro over on Tuesday, passing the ceremonial mallet to South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. During his closing remarks, Lula wished President Ramaphosa good luck, adding that G20 presidency handover was an expression of the cultural, economic and historical links between Latin America and Africa. Earlier on Tuesday, South Africa announced that it would use its G20 presidency to focus on advancing inclusive economic growth, food security and artificial intelligence. Earlier, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi participated in the third session of the G20 Brazil Summit on Sustainable Development and Energy Transition in Rio. Prime Minister underlined the importance of accelerating efforts to ensure a cleaner, sustainable future for all, including through mainstreaming Varanasi principles on life and initiatives such as International Solar Alliance, One World, One Sun, One Grid, and the Global Biofuel Alliance. Prime Minister said Varanasi Action Plan will accelerate achievements of the SDGs. He added that under Brazil presidency, priority accorded to implement these goals. Prime Minister mentioned that over the last 1 decade, more than 40 million peoples had their homes built. In over 5 years, clean water supply was ensured for 120 million homes. PM added that efforts are based on traditional Indian thought, which is progressive and balanced, while he added that India is first country to fulfill the commitments under Paris Agreement. India made green transition a people's movement and over 10 million families registered for solar rooftop program. PM added that India is sharing successful experiences with friendly countries, particularly the Global South. India's G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant said that Rio de Janeiro G20 leaders' declaration was a very intense discussion, and the declaration really demonstrates the unity of G20 towards a range of issues.
Declaration focuses on hunger and poverty, it focuses on climate and energy, it focuses on developmental issues, it focuses a lot on accelerating the pace of sustainable development goals. There's been a huge emphasis on climate and energy also, but it also focuses a lot on a major component of this was geopolitics. The declaration has underlines the immense human suffering and adverse impacts of ongoing conflicts.
India's Sherpa also added that 11th G20 summit delivered a very strong message on the fight against hunger and poverty. He added that India has joined this alliance as one of the 147 founding members to support it.
Leaders of G20 were invited, countries and heads of international organizations, they were all invited. Then they have participated and launched the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. And India has also joined this alliance as one of the 147 founding members. This includes about 81 countries, the African Union and European Union, 24 international organizations, 9 international financial institutions, and 31 philanthropic and non-governmental organizations.
Amitabh Kant also added that Prime Minister Modi spoke in 2 sessions and highlighted the huge impact which India has made to combat hunger and poverty. He added that many of the ambitions and key outcomes from the New Delhi leaders' declaration are part of the Rio Declaration.
The Prime Minister spoke in 2 sessions, one on hunger and poverty and the other on sustainable development and energy transition. And in both of them, he highlighted the huge impact which India had made. In the first one, he highlighted about lifting 250 million people above the poverty line and what measures India has taken. So his speeches are available. And in the second one on sustainable development, he emphasized how India is meeting this target of 500 gigawatt of renewable energy, or India is the only country of G20 which has achieved its targets 9 years ahead of schedule and has already achieved 200 gigawatt.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held talks with Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva on the sidelines of the G20 summit. While opening the bilateral meeting, Brazilian President told Prime Minister that they have incorporated several things in their G20 which were inspired from India's presidency. He added that Brazil wanted to reach the level of efficiency in organizing the summit that India had shown last year. Leaders also took stock of the full range of bilateral ties between the two nations, reaffirmed their commitment to improve cooperation in sectors like energy, biofuels, defense, agriculture, and more.
Similarly, there was discussion on the possibilities on cooperation in green hydrogen, as well as in the budding defense field. In space, there has already been valuable cooperation between the two sides. ISRO has already launched a couple of satellites for the Brazilian Space Agency. The two sides also agreed on cooperation in the area of artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, biotechnology, and ethanol blending.
On the sidelines of G20 in Rio, Prime Minister Modi held second India-Australia annual summit. On the sidelines of the summit in Rio de Janeiro, both leaders reiterated their commitment to further advance India-Australia comprehensive strategic partnership in myriad areas like defense and security, trade and investment, education, skills, sports, space, mobility and people-to-people ties. The leaders welcomed the launch of the Renewable Energy Partnership. PM Modi said, in the last 2 years, India-Australia ties have grown immensely across sectors.
पिछले 2 वर्षों में हमारे आपसी व्यापार में 40% वृद्धि हुई है। रक्षा क्षेत्र में जॉइंट एक्सरसाइज, यंग ऑफिसर्स के बीच एक्सचेंज और हमारे प्लेटफॉर्म्स के डिप्लॉयमेंट को बढ़ावा मिला है। हमने ब्रिस्बेन में नया कॉन्सुलेट खोला है और ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने बेंगलुरु में। 2 ऑस्ट्रेलियन यूनिवर्सिटीज ने भारत में अपने कैंपस भी खोले हैं।
Prime Minister also said both India and Australia stand for peace in the Indo-Pacific and support dialogue and diplomacy to resolve tensions.
इंडो-पैसिफिक क्षेत्र में शांति, स्थिरता और समृद्धि का हम मिलकर के समर्थन कर रहे हैं और आगे भी करते रहेंगे। वैश्विक संघर्षों और तनावों को सुलझाने के लिए हमने डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी पर बल दिया है। ग्लोबल इंस्टीट्यूशंस में रिफॉर्म्स की आवश्यकता पर भी हम एकमत हैं।
Prime Minister also said that leaders had a very productive meeting of the second India-Australia annual summit. In the last couple of years, it was the 11th meeting with Australian counterpart Albanese. Prime Minister Modi said it is a symbol of the new energy in the bilateral ties.
Defense industry, critical mineral, renewable energy, शिपबिल्डिंग, स्पेस, स्पोर्ट्स जैसे क्षेत्रों में आपसी सहयोग की नई संभावनाओं पर काम करेंगे। पारस्परिक लाभदायक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इकोनॉमिक कोऑपरेशन समझौते के लिए काम किया जाएगा।
On bilateral talks between Australia and India, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said there is immense potential in the relationship between Australia and India. He welcomed the launch of India-Australia Renewable Energy Partnership.
There is so much potential in the relationship between Australia and India. So much more we can do together to build a stronger, safer and more prosperous future for citizens in both of our countries. Today I am delighted to welcome the launch of the India-Australia Renewable Energy Partnership. This is a significant milestone in our cooperation. Our new partnership will boost two-way investment in renewable energy projects like solar PV manufacturing, battery mineral processing, green hydrogen and green iron, build the future renewable energy workforce, including through skills and training, and ultimately unlock economic opportunities to support the net zero transition.
Prime Minister Modi also held talks with Chilean President Gabriel Boric on the sidelines of the summit. Talks focused on how to deepen relations in pharmaceuticals, technology, space, along with several other areas. Prime Minister said it is pleasing to see that Ayurveda is gaining popularity in Chile. PM Modi agreed that India's ties with Chile are getting stronger across various sectors. Prime Minister also held bilateral talks with President of Argentina, Javier Milei, on the sidelines of the summit. The leaders reviewed India-Argentina strategic partnership and agreed to further deepen, diversify the bilateral relationship, particularly in the areas of digital technology, pharmaceuticals, defense, space, energy, mineral resources and railways. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri said the leaders met for the first time. Both leaders discussed governance and expressed satisfaction on broadening of strategic partnership in many areas.
With the President of Chile, the two sides discussed the potential in areas such as trade and pharmaceutical cooperation. There are discussions on a commercial cooperation agreement that are ongoing between the two sides. Meeting between Prime Minister and the President of Argentina, Javier Milei. The two leaders exchanged their thoughts and their experience in handling issues related to governance. And I should mention that in the lithium space, there's been a significant agreement signed just earlier this year between India and Argentina, whereby an Indian public sector undertaking has entered into an agreement to explore a lithium mine in Argentina. This is possibly the first such initiative by an Indian entity anywhere in the world.
Meanwhile, Indian Union Minister Kirti Vardhan Singh highlighted the issues faced by global South countries due to climate change as he addressed the COP29 summit in Baku, Azerbaijan. Details in our next report.
Addressing the COP29 summit in Azerbaijan's Baku, India's Union Minister of State for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Kirti Vardhan Singh, highlighted the climate action including push for clean energy taken by India.
These have not dampened India's resolve and commitment to take ambitious climate actions. We achieved our 2015 NDC targets on emission intensity reduction and non-fossil based installed electricity generation capacity much earlier than 2030 and have further enhanced our ambitions in these sectors. India's renewable energy capacity has nearly tripled from its 2014 levels, and we are on course to achieve the 500 gigawatt target by 2030.
In his opening remarks at the G20, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi highlighted India's strides in sustainable agriculture. He said that the country has developed 2,000 climate-resilient crop varieties. G20 leaders' push for sustainable development and a transition to cleaner energy became the focus of the COP summit.
The G20 has now issued its leaders' communique, and we are grateful for the support they have pledged for the COP29 presidency. We appreciate the signal that they have sent of their intention to accelerate the reform of the international financial architecture. We thank them for their support for a successful NCQG outcome in Baku. We now need to translate political will into practical work.
Rich nations are being urged to significantly raise their pledge of $100 billion a year in financing for poorer countries. But disagreements remain over how much the deal should entail and what types of financing should be included. Armed with a guitar and placards, members of the African Climate Justice Alliance demanded aid for countries battling extreme weather events. Bureau Report, DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. King of Spain visits Chiva, the epicenter of floods in the country. Large parts of the UK blanketed in snow as the country experiences first taste of winters.
G20 meeting taking place in Rio on the 18th and 19th of this month. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be participating here as well, along with the leaders of the world's 20 largest economies who will be deliberating on key issues such as eliminating hunger and poverty, sustainable development. For all the latest on the 2024 G20 summit in Rio, join me, Gautam Roy, only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. As Prime Minister Narendra Modi's next destination on his three-nation tour is Guyana, the upcoming state visit is set to strengthen bilateral ties across various sectors like trade, energy and agriculture. To discuss the significance of this visit and India's growing partnership with Guyana, DD India Siddharth Bharadwaj spoke exclusively with Dr. Amit Telang, India's High Commissioner to the Cooperative Republic of Guyana.
This will be the first visit by any Indian Prime Minister in almost 5 decades. To talk more on this, I've been joined by India's High Commissioner to Guyana, Dr. Amit Telang. It's an exciting moment for both India and Guyana. Incredibly pivotal moment for both the countries, isn't it?
The diaspora and the Indian community in general are looking forward to this visit because traditionally our two countries, they are very closely bound because of the culture, the common culture and traditions, and the fact that many of the Guyanese, they consider India still as their motherland because their ancestors came from India, and that connection in fact is still alive. They look at India, and especially in the recent years, considering the profile of Honorable Prime Minister Modi and what he has done, his global profile, everyone is excited.
What do you have to say about diaspora's role, in bridging the gap between both the countries?
Since 2019, when the actual exploration and the oil extraction started in Guyana, today Guyana is one of the major producers of crude, and in the coming years probably the production is going to increase even more than that. And on the other hand, there is India or Bharat, for example, because we are also one of the fastest growing major economies. We are the major I would say in terms of development as well. We are experiencing a very fast growth, and we have a lot of demand for oil. So we are among the major consumers of oil today. So we are natural partners, I would say, because Guyana is a major producer, we are a major consumer, and the kind of relationship that we share, I think it's a win-win situation.
Could you tell us about how this visit will strengthen the energy ties between India and Guyana?
We have received requests from the Guyanese side, especially for example in skill development, because this kind of activity requires a lot of technical expertise, a lot of infrastructure, and we will be in a position to provide that to Guyana. Even if we talk about, say, petroleum engineering and exploration and many of the allied areas, we can work in that area. So I think MOU of course is very much on the anvil, but I can also say that the cooperation has been ongoing. A lot of engineers from the Ministry of Natural Resources and other agencies, they are going to India, they take courses in India under the ITEC program and various other options that we offer. So I think already a lot of cooperation is happening, and it will increase further as an outcome, of course, of this MOU, but in general also as an outcome of this visit.
Well, thank you so much, Ambassador, for giving your valuable insights today.
The Indian Arrival Monument in Georgetown stands as a powerful symbol of history and resilience, honoring the first Indian indentured immigrants who arrived in Guyana in 1838. Our correspondent Siddharth Bharadwaj visited this iconic site to explore its cultural significance and also spoke with the members of the Indian community about their heritage and expectations from Prime Minister Modi's upcoming visit.
India and Guyana share strong cultural ties. In fact, 40% of the total population in Guyana comprise of Indians. I am at a historic monument right now, which marks the arrival of Indians to Guyana. And now their descendants form strong social and cultural fabric here. And this is happening for the first time, that any Indian Prime Minister is coming to Guyana for over half a century. I have some members from the Indian community here. Let's talk to them and let's ask them how excited are they.
I'm very excited like every other Guyanese, because for us, he's an icon, he's a role model. And I remember one time I was in Bangalore and had the opportunity to he was at the Pravasi event, and he said, and as a statement he made, it still resonates with me. And he said that despite Indians are across the world, their hearts beats for India. And for me, that's a very deep and a very profound statement. And for me, that is what makes it even more exciting, that after so many years, Narendra Modi, who has really distinguished himself as a world leader, has won the admiration of many young people. Especially we followed his work, especially with the entire Ayodhya temple, the transformation that is going on in India, and of course for us here, we're just excited to see what it brings for Guyana. Already Guyana and India has an excellent working relationship. Like I would always say that we are part of the DNA, you understand? We cannot separate India from Guyana, because we are the descendants, we breed, we think, we live the culture experience of India. So for such an iconic leader to visit us here, it's really and truly a testimony to the great relationship that exists between Guyana and India.
We are expecting a lot from Modi ji. He has visited Guyana here before, and when he was in the Parliament of India a few years ago, he's got very good friends also here. Now we expect Modi ji to, as the Indian youth is the strength of India, we want a lot of collaboration with the youth from Guyana and India, and we want to help, we want Modi ji to help Guyanese to get an excellent, broadband satellite network, so they can, it's very affordable for people to get on to the drive of digitalization, like what India has done.
The Indian community here in Guyana is very much excited, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to visit Guyana. They say that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit will certainly strengthen the bilateral ties between both the countries, and they also say that they expect a lot with Prime Minister visit. With camera person Saurabh and Senthil, this is Siddharth Bharadwaj reporting with DD India in Guyana.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to embark on a historic visit to Guyana from November 19th to 21st, first by an Indian Prime Minister in over 5 decades. DD India correspondent Siddharth Bharadwaj tells us why it's important.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to embark on a historic state visit to Guyana from 19th to 21st of November at the invitation of Guyana's President, Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali. This is the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister in over 5 decades. On the agenda are several key moments, beginning with the delegation level talk between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Irfan Ali.
where both the leaders are expected to talk on a wide range of topics from defense to trade to education to energy, among others. President Irfan Ali visited India in 2023 and participated in the 17th Prasar Bharati Divas, where he was also awarded Prasar Bharati Samman, and he's keen to strengthen ties with India. One highlight of the visit is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's address to Guyanese Parliament, a gesture which underscores India's commitment to democracy and strengthening people-to-people ties. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also be meeting the vibrant Indian diaspora who contributes to the diverse social fabric of Guyana. The visit also features the second India CARICOM summit, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be meeting the CARICOM member nations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also pay floral tribute to the statue of Father of the Nation Mahatma Gandhi, and he will also be meeting some prominent personalities from the Caribbean. All in all, this will be a significant visit by the Indian Prime Minister, which is poised to reinforce the strong foundation of India-Guyana relations and will also expand India's presence in Caribbean. With camera person Senthil, this is Siddharth Bharadwaj reporting for DD India in Georgetown, Guyana.
Guyana hopes to expand its cooperation with India into newer areas such as energy and food security, technology and military hardware. In an exclusive interview to DD India's Ramesh Ramachandran, Guyana's President Dr. Mohammad Irfan Ali says he has personally witnessed the transformation of India under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi.
Global leadership does not happen by accident. Global leadership occurs when you have strong local leadership in the country itself. And Prime Minister Modi has demonstrated a strength of leadership that has really positioned India globally and has opened up many opportunities for India and a greater level of regard for India. So what I've seen in India is a country that is accelerating at a rapid pace.
President Ali says that he wants Guyana to benefit from India's success. And now, in fact, we take you to Rio de Janeiro. There is a special rendition of Ramayana taking place in Brazil after the conclusion of the G20 summit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is present in the audience.
Brazil deshasya punya bhumyam swagatam vandanam abhinandanam cha karoti vishwavidyayaha charyaha vishwanataha pratamam vedanta gurukulam asmadbihi udgatitam bhavishyati vishwavidya gurukulam iti namna.
Doordarshan samani tva punareshyamyaham purim ityuktva kadu. Ha! Hey Sita! Hey Lakshmana! Ekada karya vaidehya Lakshmana schodito!
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankar Guru Paramparam Shri Jagan Mataram Devim Steta De Padmakasanam Brazil deshasya punya bhumyam swagatam vandanam abhinandanam cha karoti vishwavidyayaha charyaha vishwanataha pratamam vedanta gurukulam asmadbihi udgatitam bhavishyati Vishwavidya iti namna.
Doordarshan tva punareshyamyaham purim ityuktva kadu. Ha! Hey Sita! Hey Lakshmana! Ekada karya vaidehyam Lakshmanaschodito! Jayavaham japen nityam akshayam paramam shivam. Ha!
It was a special rendition, some excerpts of a Ramayana rendition in Brazil in Sanskrit. There is great interest in Vedic culture, Indian culture in Brazil, and those excerpts and that performance put up for Prime Minister Narendra Modi as the G20 summit concluded in Brazil. Still to come on DD India News Hour. On the sidelines of the G20 summit in Rio, India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar meets his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi. US envoy in Beirut says end to war between Israel and Hezbollah is within our grasp. Sagar Manthan, South Asia's largest maritime thought leadership forum, concludes in New Delhi.
Goa, a wild nature paradise, where over a third of the state remains wild today, and every corner is full of surprises. Goa's forests evolved through the seasons. Insects and crocodiles flourish in the monsoon, butterflies in the months after the rains subside, and in the winter, the jungle transforms into a haven for birds. Oh, there's a female right next to him. Oh my God, is that 8 otters? That's one of my favorite things about these forests. There are still so many secrets out there. Watch postcards from Goa on National Geographic.
G20 meeting taking place in Rio on the 18th and 19th of this month. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be participating here as well, along with the leaders of the world's 20 largest economies who will be deliberating on key issues such as eliminating hunger and poverty, sustainable development. For all the latest on the 2024 G20 summit in Rio, join me, Gautam Roy, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Our top stories. Rio G20 summit concludes as South Africa takes over the presidency from Brazil. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi underlines the importance of accelerating efforts to ensure cleaner, more sustainable future for all during G20 summit. Prime Minister Modi holds bilateral talks with Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese in Rio, deliver joint statement of cooperation. India pushes for clean energy by highlighting climate action at COP29 summit in Baku, Azerbaijan. On the sidelines of the G20 summit in Rio, India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar met his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi. The two leaders reviewed progress in bilateral relations, particularly focusing on border issues.
On the sidelines of the G20 summit in Rio, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi. The leaders noted the progress in the recent disengagement in the India-China border areas. In a post on X, Dr. Jaishankar said, "We noted the progress in the recent disengagement in the India-China border areas and exchanged views on the next steps in our bilateral ties. Also discussed the global situation." The ministers recognized that the disengagement in the border areas had contributed to the maintenance of peace and tranquility. The discussions focused on the next steps in India-China relations. It was agreed that a meeting of the special representatives and of the Foreign Secretary Vice Minister mechanism will take place soon. Among the steps discussed were the resumption of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra pilgrimage, data sharing on trans-border rivers, direct flights between India and China, and media exchanges. On the global situation and international issues, Dr. Jaishankar noted that India and China have both differences and convergences. Dr. Jaishankar highlighted constructive cooperation between India and China in BRICS, SCO and G20. He emphasized commitment to a multipolar world, including a multipolar Asia. Dr. Jaishankar added that India does not view its relationships through the prism of other nations. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi agreed with Dr. Jaishankar and noted that the leaders had agreed in Kazan on the way forward. The two ministers felt that it was imperative that the focus should be on stabilizing ties, managing differences, and taking the next steps. This meeting adds to a series of high-level interactions between the two nations' foreign ministers. Both leaders last met in Lao PDR on 25th July this year during the ASEAN-related foreign ministers' meetings. On 4th July, they held talks in Astana during a regional gathering. Last year, on 14th July, discussions took place between the two leaders on the sidelines of the ASEAN Regional Forum in Jakarta. In 2022, the two met during the G20 Foreign Ministers meeting in Bali on 7th July. In the same year, the leaders also met on 25th March when Wang Yi visited India and held direct discussions. On 14th July 2021, a meeting was held between the two leaders during the SCO Foreign Ministers meeting in Dushanbe. They also met on 10 September 2020 during the SCO Foreign Ministers meeting in Moscow. And on 17th June in the same year, the leaders spoke over the phone regarding developments in Ladakh. The latest meeting in Rio underscores continuing diplomatic efforts between India and China as both nations navigate border issues, broader bilateral ties, and global tensions. Bureau Report, DD India.
India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, while virtually addressing the 7th India-Japan Indo-Pacific Forum and the 10th India-Japan Track 1.5 dialogue, called for setting ambitious targets and working towards fulfilling them. He termed the India-Japan strategic and global partnership as a bilateral relationship of great trust and growing substance.
The India-Japan Special Strategic and Global Partnership serves the cause of regional peace, international stability, and global prosperity. It is a bilateral relationship of great trust and growing substance. But precisely because we have come so far in the last decade, it is important that we develop ambitious targets and work towards realizing them. Our convergences are built on the alignment between India's Act East policy, our Indo-Pacific vision of Sagar, and Japan's free and open Indo-Pacific vision, as well as our shared support for the ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific.
The US is optimistic that conflict between Hezbollah and Israel will come to an end as its envoy holds talks with Lebanese leaders in Beirut. More details in our next report.
Diplomacy has taken the center stage as efforts to diffuse tensions in West Asia make progress. US envoy Amos Hochstein, who is currently in Beirut, has said that he held very constructive talks with the Speaker of Lebanon's parliament and that there was a real opportunity to bring the conflict between the Iran-backed Hezbollah and Israel to an end.
This is a moment of decision-making. I'm here in Beirut to facilitate that decision, but it's ultimately the decision of the parties to reach a conclusion to this conflict. It is now within our grasp.
The meeting comes after the Lebanese government and Hezbollah agreed to a US-drafted ceasefire proposal. According to a Lebanese official, Lebanon's remarks on the proposal were in line with the UNSC Resolution 1701, which ended the 2006 conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. The resolution, whose terms require Hezbollah to have no armed presence in the area between the Lebanese-Israeli border and the Litani River, is yet to be fully implemented. The diplomatic efforts have not led to halt in attacks. Several people were injured as 40 rockets fired from Lebanon hit central and northern Israel. Buildings were damaged in Israeli strikes on central Beirut. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that Washington had reservations about Israel entering Gaza to dismantle Hamas infrastructure post the October 7th attack.
To accomplish these goals, we entered Gaza. I must tell you, members of the Knesset, that the United States objected, made reservations, also expressed objection. I did not threaten, it did not apply sanctions, not at that time. It expressed reservations and suggested we not enter Gaza. It said that it could be dealt with from the air. It sent experts and we decided to follow our view and we go in with ground forces.
Earlier, UNSC members called for a rise in humanitarian aid to Gaza. Bureau Report, DD India.
Moving on, as Russia-Ukraine conflict reaches the 1000th day, it has reshaped geopolitics, devastated millions of lives, continues to evolve with no end in sight. Here's a closer look at how the conflict has unfolded and its far-reaching impact. DD India's Rahul Upadhyay brings us this report.
On 24th of February 2022, the world watched as Russian forces launched a special military operation in Ukraine. While Ukraine and its allies labelled it an unprovoked act of war. The ongoing conflict between Russia-Ukraine marks its 1000th day. So far, infantry operations have taken center stage, highlighting their indispensable nature. From hand-to-hand combat in urban zones like Donetsk to larger merchandised assaults in Kursk, both sides are vying for supremacy. Even foreign involvement highlights this importance. As Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said, the number of North Korean troops stationed inside Russia could grow to 100,000.
Putin has brought 11,000 North Korean troops to Ukraine's borders. This contingent may grow to 100,000. While some European leaders think about some elections or something like this at Ukraine's expense, Putin is focused on winning this war. He will not stop on his own.
Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a treaty into law this month on strategic partnership with North Korea, which includes a mutual defense provision. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte stressed that Ukraine will need more aid and more money in order to prevail over Russia, as he arrived for a foreign affairs and defense meeting with members of the European Union in Brussels.
Today marks 1000 days of the full Russian onslaught, the unprovoked full Russian onslaught on Ukraine. So today we'll discuss how we can help Ukraine to prevail. That means more aid, more money, we have to make available to them, particularly now that the North Koreans have come on board.
After Biden's key approval, Ukraine reportedly launched an attack on Russia's Bryansk region overnight using 6 US-made long-range missiles. The report stated that Russian air defense systems intercepted 5 of the missiles and damaged 1. According to the ministry, the attack resulted in no casualties or damage. Amidst the ongoing military action, 12 people, including a child, were killed in a Russian drone attack on Ukraine's northeast Sumy region. In another incident, Russia's Ministry of Defense stated that its forces had taken control of the village of Novoletsyivka in eastern Ukraine's Donetsk region. As the conflict stretches into its 1000th day, it has evolved beyond territorial disputes and political differences. It has become a testament to endurance, hope, and the will to rebuild. These visuals serve as a tribute to those who have lost so much yet to continue to hold on to something even greater, the strength to survive and the courage to believe in a better future. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
El Salvador court ruled to bring a former president to trial for their alleged roles in murder of 6 Jesuit priests during the country's civil war in 1989. Former President Alfredo Cristiani and 9 retired military officials are charged with murder against the priests and 2 female collaborators. The civil war between El Salvador's government and the leftist National Liberation Front lasted from 1980 to 1992 and resulted in the deaths of 75,000 people. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Goa all set for the 55th edition of International Film Festival of India.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. The 55th edition of the International Film Festival of India, IFFI, is set to begin on Wednesday in Goa with some 180 international films from across 81 countries to be screened till the November 28th. Preparations are on in full swing as the festival will witness the presence of renowned personalities from the world of cinema. Here's a report on what to look forward to in this festival.
Lights, camera, IFFI. The stage is all set for the 55th edition of the International Film Festival of India in the heart of Goa, and preparations are in full swing for the mega event. This year's program features films across 16 curated segments, ensuring there's something for everyone. From heartwarming dramas to intense documentaries, every corner of cinema is represented. Films making their national and international premieres at IFFI add to the excitement, allowing audiences a sneak peek at the groundbreaking stories. Apart from that, country of focus is Australia. Speaking on its importance, Ms. Vrunda Desai, Joint Secretary Films, said that this not only strengthens bilateral relationship between the two countries, but also open doors to global film market.
This year Australia is the country of focus, and we have the opening film from Australia, as well as there is a roundtable conference between the producers, the Indian filmmakers and Australian filmmakers.
For the first time ever, an OTT platform of Prasar Bharati will also be released on the opening ceremony at IFFI. The Prasar Bharati OTT booth will provide festival goers with an opportunity to explore the expanding world of OTT. From culture to cuisine, IFFI is going to be a delight for sign lovers. And it also provides an opportunity to own the skills of young volunteers.
I'm very excited, like we are getting to learn something new which will be helpful for our career as we are students of hospitality.
The festival, which is spread across 9 days, kickstarts on the 20th of November and will go on till the 28th of it in Goa.
From showcasing young minds to having a particular space for women filmmakers, from the first online portal to having the first OTT platform, and also from honoring the legends of Indian cinema to having the first ever IFFIesta, IFFI 2024 is celebrating cinema at its best. So don't forget to tune in and follow IFFI with DD India from the 20th till the 28th of November. With camera person Alok, this is Deepika reporting for DD India from Goa.
Moving on, large parts of the United Kingdom were blanketed with snow as the country got its first taste of winter, which brought school closure, train delays and an appeal to check in on vulnerable people. Met Department has issued yellow severe weather alert for snow and ice across northern Scotland, Northern Ireland, central and southern Wales. Earlier there had been warnings for the northern England and Midlands, while snow also fell in areas not covered by the alerts, including central London. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for sports. The Special Olympics Asia Pacific bocce and bowling competition kicked off with a grand opening ceremony at Tyagaraja Sports Complex in New Delhi. Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar inaugurated the event, praised the dedication of their special athletes. The event also saw Union Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia and President of Special Olympics Bharat, Dr. Malika Nadda, in attendance.
The opening ceremony of the Special Olympics Asia Pacific bocce and bowling competition was held at the Tyagaraja Sports Complex in New Delhi. Vice President of India Jagdeep Dhankar graced the ceremony as the chief guest and declared the games open. Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar expressed his admiration for the athletes and everyone supporting the event.
By way of these games, we are celebrating something very important, and that is inclusion and dignity. Under the visionary Prime Minister of Narendra Modi, several affirmative steps have been taken to provide an ecosystem to them, to unleash their energy and potential, to realize their hopes and aspirations, to realize their dreams. And I've seen this myself while greeting the parading athletes.
The opening ceremony witnessed a grand display of cultural performances and a special march past by the participating countries. Union Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia, along with the President of Special Olympics Bharat Dr. Malika Nadda, also attended the event. On this occasion, Mansukh Mandavia said that the government is fully committed to supporting the Special Olympics movement.
Today, I am pleased to announce that the government, under the dynamic leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, is fully committed to supporting Special Olympics Bharat and ensuring that our nation provides an inclusive sports environment for athletes of all abilities.
It is a moment of celebration, unity and inspiration with athletes from 12 countries who are representing not only their teams but also the spirit of inclusion, the spirit of courage and the resilience that Special Olympics embodies. Our presence today reinforces our commitment to building an inclusive world, one where every individual, regardless of their disabilities, is celebrated and empowered.
The Special Olympics Asia Pacific bocce and bowling competition is a first of its kind in India, empowering athletes with intellectual and developmental disabilities aged 22 and above. The tournament has introduced bowling as a competitive sport in India for the first time. The 4-day competition will see special athletes from 12 countries vying for top honours in both sports. Sports Desk, DD India.
That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.